So we see that sanctification is by faith, just as justification is by faith. Faith is the foundation of it all. No one can live a sanctified or holy life without faith. Faith must be the root of everything. Alright, hello there brothers and sisters, and welcome to another video by Zion's Watchman Media. And in this one, we are going to be continuing in our series on the new theology, a series where we examine some of this theology that is attacking God's remnant church. And in this video, we're going to be looking at sanctification and the true gospel. And the reason we want to look at this is because there are people who preach the new theology and they actually accuse God's remnant people of being legalists because we believe in a gospel that consists of both two things, justification and sanctification. And they may try to argue that since we believe in this twofold gospel, we are actually exalting Catholic principles or Catholic doctrine, and we are rejecting the Protestant Reformation. So in this video, we're actually going to study out this accusation, and we are going to see if it actually holds up to what the Bible actually teaches. So with that being said, let us go forward. Now to start off, we need to understand some basic terminology. So what is justification? Justification is simply being declared righteous by God and free from the penalty of sin. And this justification comes by faith according to Romans chapter 1 verse 17. Sanctification, on the other hand, is being made righteous or being freed from the power of sin in this life. So those are the two definitions. Now, to better understand this issue, we need to understand a little bit of history. So it was from 1545 to 1563 that the Council of Trent was held by the Catholic Church. And this was a council that was brought forth to counter the Protestant Reformation. And it was during this council that it was decided that the gospel consisted of both two things, justification and sanctification. As a result of this, some may try to use the Council of Trent as an attack by saying that those who believe that the gospel consists of both justification and sanctification are holding to a Catholic idea of salvation, rather than the early Protestant view of salvation in the 16th century, which was built mainly off of justification by faith alone. Alright, so that is the accusation, but there is one flaw in it, and it is this. What one needs to understand is that Catholic sanctification is completely different from true Bible-based sanctification. For Catholic sanctification is built off of man's works, and it's connected with the 7 sacraments. For example, in the Catholic Church, you have the sacraments of the Mass, you have the Holy Orders, marriage, baptism, penance, confirmation, final unction. Here are some pictures of a few of them. You see, this is what sanctification in the Catholic Church is built off of, the 7 sacraments. And it actually reminds us of the Jews at the time of Christ, whom he rebuked. For the Jews too had fallen into ceremonies that they used to try to make themselves holy or right with God. We read actually in the Spirit of Prophecy, in Acts of the Apostles, page 15, this. Priests and rulers became fixed in a rut of ceremonialism. They were satisfied with a legal religion, and it was impossible for them to give to others the living truths of heaven. They thought their own righteousness all sufficient, and did not desire that a new element should be brought into their religion. The good will of God they did not accept as something apart from themselves, but connected it with their own merit because of their good works. The faith that works by love and purifies the soul could find no place for union with the religion of the Pharisees, made up of ceremonies and the injunctions of men. Alright, so now that we know what a false sanctification looks like, let us look at what the Bible actually describes as a true sanctification. And the first thing that we see is that true sanctification is a gift from Jesus. We read in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 25 to 27, "Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish." Alright, so the sanctification comes from Christ. He gives it to us. Also too in Hebrews chapter 13 verse 12, "Wherefore Jesus also, that he might sanctify the people with his blood, suffered without the gate." So from these verses, we see very clearly that our sanctification comes from Christ. It is a gift from him. We can do nothing to make ourselves holy. Everything is a gift from Christ in sanctification. Now the next question that we need to answer is, how are we sanctified? Well, Acts chapter 26 verse 18 tells us, to open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light and from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. So according to this verse, we are sanctified by faith. Very interesting. So we see that sanctification is by faith, just as justification is by faith. Faith is the foundation of it all. No one can live a sanctified or holy life without faith. Faith must be the root of everything. And how do we receive this faith? Well, the Apostle Paul tells us in Romans chapter 10 verse 17, where he says, so then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So it is by spending time in the word of God, by studying it, meditating upon it, that we receive this life-giving faith, which will allow us to trust in God and to be an overcomer in this life over sin. And what is faith for those of you who do not know? Well, Hebrews chapter 11 basically tells us that faith is simply believing in something that you have not seen, or trusting in the unseen God. That is faith. It is having this trust in God that empowers us to live out a holy or sanctified life. And the Apostle Paul, he tells us a little bit more about faith in Galatians when we read it right here. For in Jesus Christ neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. So from this verse, we see how faith works. It works by love. Love is the root of faith. Love is the motive of a true faith. It is not to earn anything or to earn God's favor. So brothers and sisters, I've written this out here. True Christianity completely rejects the legalism of the Jews and Catholic Church. The idea that we can be made holy through our own good works is found nowhere in the Bible. Love must be the motive of our sanctification and good works. Jesus showed us this when he summed up the 10 Commandments. For he said this, the first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love, so love is the foundation of this commandment, the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these. So these verses make it very clear that love is the foundation of all of our good works, or our sanctification, us being made holy. So if we were to lay it out like this, we would see that first it starts from a place of love, which is the foundation of faith, and then we see that faith is the foundation of sanctification. So that's how it works. It goes love, faith, and then sanctification. This is true Bible-based sanctification. So in summary, we see that the gospel is not justification and sanctification by sacraments as the Catholic Church teaches, and neither is it justification by faith alone as the early Protestant reformers believed. That is only a half gospel. The true gospel is justification by faith and sanctification by faith. We must have both. So brothers and sisters, for one to accuse one of exalting Catholic doctrine by believing in a gospel that links both justification and sanctification together shows that one is ultimately ignorant of what true Bible-based sanctification is versus Catholic sanctification. So we hope that this video really clears up this issue on sanctification and the true gospel, and that we see that sanctification is just as much a part of the true gospel as is justification. We must have both, and we receive both of these things through faith. Justification by faith and sanctification by faith. So may you receive the faith of Jesus into your life by spending time in his word, so that you can live out that sanctified life, which will give you victory over the enemy, over sin. Now, if you like this video and you want to learn more, be sure to subscribe below and click on the bell, and we will see you guys in the next one. Until next time.